All right, Emily and Chris, let's get right into it. And I want to talk a little bit about the hatch. The hatch is definitely a weak spot in anybody's ceiling. And you'll see from this thermal image that I took at a different house, the hot spot there versus where the insulation is at 75 versus 82. And how do we treat the hatch? Well, we use a rigid piece of foam board, and you can see how we cut it to size. We actually match it to your existing piece of drywall. We stack a few pieces to achieve R11. We make sure everything is taped. Then we actually glue, we affix the panel to the insulation. And much like you have now, we use weather stripping. We'll improve upon what you've got. And the weight of the insulation and the fact that it's now affixed to the piece of drywall makes it a more sound system. It makes it so you can go in and out, and it provides you with an air seal and a tight seal. So getting back to your attic, I wanted you all to kind of get a feel for how your attic is set up, and you'll be able to do that just by looking at where my feet are. But essentially, I've got my head sort of towards the front of the house, and then the left would be your neighbor. To my right, well, now would be to the front, but previously where my shoulder would be is the side of the house. And I wanted you to see here the insulation as I pull it up over the room adjacent to your neighbor, that closet there, how the insulation is just draped over top. And then what I did is I got up top to give you sort of a bird's eye view. And as I'd mentioned to you all, you can see in the insulation that was draped above how air has just been flowing through and causing that discoloration. And then I wanted to move over to the flue and just give you another peek at how air is infiltrating from the attic into your home through the different cavities that need to be covered and sealed from above so that we disconnect those areas from the attic, because beyond that drywall down in that cavity is of course your living space. So that's why these types of issues really do cause a lot of comfort problems in the summer, especially just because the heat is just allowed to travel in so many places. Now, let's look at your bedroom, bathroom, master bath, and I'm sure you saw, and what I wanted to do here is just give you a little perspective of where I am again. But when you look over and you start to peer into that space and you give it a little time to absorb what you're looking at, you can really see where the insulation is, well, for lack of a better word, sort of a mess. It's fallen down in places. Perhaps at one time some was draped above. It's hard to say because there's just so much down there. But the point here is, as we were talking, we want to make sure that that insulation is following that line very good, and that the insulation is in good contact with all of the appropriate surfaces. And you can see over there where the insulation is just not in contact at all with the drywall. And these are all the contributing factors to your problems. And one of the things that I think you'll notice here, that's the plumbing vent, and that runs through the house, and that's considered a penetration through the ceiling. So I put the insulation back and um, wanted to show you that. And that piece that I just moved was probably the old piece for the hatch, which doesn't do much. Now I wanted to give you an example of somebody else's house. This is another person's knee wall, and very similar to what you saw in yours. Insulation has fallen, and it's just not in good contact with the surface. It's also at the top of a sloped ceiling there. You kind of see it's very similar to yours. And then I wanted to show you, prior to us insulating, what it looks like after we sheathe the knee wall. So this is what I was talking about. We seal it, and then we make sure the insulation is in the right spots, and then we sheathe it with that silver paper. And you can see a few other things going on in this attic. This is a job that took place a few days ago where we did some air sealing and we did the knee wall and then we insulated. So that is that. I wanted to give you a kind of look at your attic, and the reports and other information will follow soon. Thanks.